Today we're going to talk about why banks seem to be willing to throw money at you to enable you to buy real estate. Not to buy other things, just real estate. And here's the effect of it. You might have a lump of cash and you may or may not be able to buy much with that. But when you add to that what the banks are willing to give you to buy real estate, suddenly you can afford to buy that house. Or if you could afford it before anyway, instead of buying one, you can now buy 3 or 4 of them. Why are banks so keen to lend you money to buy real estate? Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching my content. I love creating content because I love teaching real estate, and even more, I love doing real estate deals. I love sharing how I do them. But one of the things that I find is best for getting the information across is to do a live event. One of the great advantages of a live event is you can ask me questions. So I've prepared a live event coming up. To find out the details on it, click the link below. And then during this, not only will it give you the steps required to get started in commercial real estate, but I'll be taking questions and giving my best answers. Hope to see you soon. In case you're wondering whether I'm right when I say that banks love it when you buy real estate, think of the interest rates banks charge for various forms of lending. For instance, if it's unsecured debt, meaning you buy things on your credit card with no security offered, the interest rate they want to make it worth their while is around 24%. If you want to borrow money for your business, that's considered less risky than unsecured debt, but they'll be charging you 12 or 14%. But if you are audacious enough to want to buy real estate, oh my gosh, the interest rate is only 2.5%, 3.5%. It's probably going to rise a bit in the next year or so. But even so, it's extraordinarily cheap. And why is it so cheap? Banks know that investing in real estate is a safe and secure investment and that they're very likely to get their money back. That's why not only do they offer a low interest rate, but all over the world, banks advertise on billboards and newspapers, on the radio and television, saying things like, hey, are you thinking of buying a house? Come and see us. We'll waive the application fee. We'll give you this bonus. We'll give you that. They want you to invest in real estate. Or another way of looking at it is, banks want to lend you money so that you can buy houses. Let them give it to you. And reason number 1 is that real estate is a real asset. It's embedded in the name. Real assets are physical assets that have an intrinsic worth due to their substance and properties. Real assets include precious metals, commodities, equipment, land, natural resources, and real estate. Probably part of the reason why banks like real estate is although a house can burn down or it might be washed away in a landslide or an earthquake or something like that, and believe me, I've had these things happen to me, in general, houses tend to last a long time. I've got properties that are over 100 years old that are still being rented out. And I know you can get insurance against a car burning or being stolen, but it happens far more frequently. And a car tends not to last 100 years. That would be extraordinarily rare. In fact, if it did, it's probably worth a lot because it's so rare. But in general, cars don't last as long. And they get stolen far more frequently and taken and go to a chop shop and broken down into parts and sold off. You don't get that with real estate. Banks can, the bank managers can drive by a house and see that it's still there, and they can see that there are tenants still in place who mow the lawns and look after it. So in general, it's just a much safer investment for them. At the same time, it's difficult to overvalue real estate. Before you buy or sell a property, an appraisal takes place. An appraisal is an unbiased professional opinion of a home or commercial building's value and is used whenever a mortgage is involved in buying, refinancing, or selling that property. Whereas stock is valued and bought on a whim, banks take security knowing that the property is worth the loan they are giving. In other words, it's very hard to pay too much for a property because you get an appraisal done. I call this an automatic lemon avoidance algorithm. If someone's trying to sell you a property for $1 million and the appraisal comes in and it comes in at $700,000, you're not going to go ahead with it, partially because the bank won't lend any money on it. So you will not be able to buy a property that's worth less than the asking price. On the other hand, if they're asking $700,000 for it and the appraisal comes in at $1 million, the bank will not only say yes, they'll probably like that situation. So it's easier to buy a bargain and almost impossible to buy a lemon when it comes to real estate. Compelling reason number 3 has to do with monthly payments. You see, if you were to ask a bank to lend you money to buy stocks, full disclosure, some banks do to some investors, but it's on a very small proportion of stocks, and a very small proportion of the value. And if the value of the stock goes down, they do what's called a margin call. In general, banks won't lend you money for you to buy stock because they want to know that you can pay the monthly interest on the loan. And what are you going to pay that for out of stocks? Yes, stocks pay dividends, but the dividends are decided almost on a whim by the board of directors of the respective companies. And sometimes companies go under, Montgomery Ward, Enron, companies like that. So for them, lending money for the investor, the client, to buy stocks is a very, very risky thing to do, and they don't do it. That's why they need you to have cash flow, and real estate provides the cash flow to give banks the confidence to lend you the money. That's why all over the world, banks are falling over themselves to lend you money so that you can buy real estate and not stock, not bonds, not certificates of deposits or treasury bills or cryptocurrency or precious metals like gold and silver and diamonds or whatever. No, it's real estate. They love it. Not only do banks love it when you buy real estate, the government loves it when you buy real estate. Listen, they're smart enough to know that the population has to be housed, otherwise they get dissension amongst the ranks, right? And they're not very good at providing accommodation. So they give all kinds of tax incentives for people like you and I to invest in real estate to accommodate them for both their homes and their businesses. In fact, the government goes beyond just making it easy and encouraging you and giving you tax incentives. They have things like FHA loans, they have VA loans, they've got tax deductions, they give you ridiculously generous depreciation, and they give you tax credits. All of these people, banks, the government, and tenants want you to buy real estate. I would say to them, keep doing what you're doing, and I would say to you, let them talk you into it. In my humble view, real estate is singularly the best investment to get into, and not only do I put my money where my mouth is, I've been putting the same money where the same mouth is for decades now. I haven't wavered. I have always been a proponent of real estate because these things don't change. This has been the situation for decades now, and it could change tomorrow, but I don't think so. I think this is going to continue for a good time to come yet. If, like me, you believe that real estate is the way to go, then you too can get the benefit of figuring out how to massively increase value without spending much money. You can get a free copy of this book simply by clicking on the link below. And in this book, you will find idea after idea after idea. In fact, I often ask an audience, do you think it was easy to come up with 101 ways? And they say, yeah, probably. I say, no, it was tough. It was extraordinarily tough. It was tough to limit it to only 101 ways because there are so many more. In fact, I guarantee you that if you read this book, you will come across other ideas in your mind that you think, well, what about this and what about that? This isn't the be-all and end-all and the definitive treatise on how to increase the value. This is a starting point. This just seeds ideas. You will come up with your own. There is an infinite number of things that you can do with your creativity to come up with what else can I do with this property to increase its value. Click the link below to secure your own free copy of this book and change your financial future forever. As always, thank you for watching. Please be sure to click the subscribe button because that makes all the difference. It gives us ideas as to what we can do in the future to bring even more videos to you. And by the way, if you enjoyed this one, if you learned something from this one, you're going to absolutely love the next one. See you again very soon.